Welcome back, all. You might see some little ears at the bottom of your screen. That's Link. He um, he heard that this chapter was about Portland, and he he just couldn't resist. He had to know what happened. Um, so we continue my readings of Letters from Backstage: The Adventures of a Touring Stage Actor, as the first national tour of the producers progresses upon its journey. Uh, Chapter 10, Portland from a Hotel Window, March 4th, 2003. This is one of those little quotes that goes at the top of the chapter that's called oh darn it, I'm going to have to look it up. Hold on. Epigraph. That would be an epigraph. Now I got to get back there. The epigraph reads, quote, Michael Kostroff, very, very talented, parentheses, demons, unquote. From an email to Fred Applegate, in which a friend, upon learning that Fred had been cast in the first national tour of the producers, went through the cast list, giving brief descriptions of each of Fred's future co-workers based on their reputations. I hope that all made sense. It's easier to show it to you. Okay. After only 2 weeks in Seattle, we were on the road again, this time by bus to Portland, where we were again booked for only 2 weeks. By now, I was getting damned road weary, more so because of these shorter stops. We arrived in town and dispersed to our various hotels. Now, here's how the hotel thing works with professional touring shows like ours. In each city, the company managers arrange discounted rates with a few local hotels. They list those options for us, and they're what's called company housing. The company is responsible for transporting us to and from company housing, so they'll drop us off there upon arrival, get us to and from the theater, pick us up there at the end of the run. It's convenient. Of course, since we pay for our own lodging, we can stay wherever we want. Some stay with friends, some try to find better deals at other places, but if you go outside the fold, you're on your own as far as transportation, dealing with the hotel, and so on. Housing choices become very important when you live on the road because your hotel room is your home for the time that you're there. We don't just visit, we move in. And everyone has different criteria. For some, saving money is the highest priority. Those folks often choose the cheapest hotels and share with fellow cast members. For others, it's luxury and cost be damned. For others, proximity to local activities is the thing. For me, the highest priority is a non-depressing atmosphere. Among other things, I need light. A view also helps a lot, and if the hotel room windows could be opened, allowing in some real non-conditioned air, that's a huge plus. Cheap and funky, fantastic. Cheap and sad, not so good. For the Portland run, I decided, for reasons that to this day remain shrouded in mystery, to go independent and book a room at the Clark Webster. One of our cast members had found the place on his own and it sounded interesting, an older hotel in a cool neighborhood. To be honest, I hadn't really thought it through. So, after the bus dropped us off, I had an additional schlep ahead of me to get to my chosen accommodations. It was raining. I called a cab, and I waited in the warm, inviting, soft yellow lobby of the Marriott Hotel where fellow cast members were checking in, unpacking, taking hot showers, and no doubt eating bonbons in bed by now. The cab dropped me off at the Clark Webster. It looked seedy and sad. Nevertheless, I pulled my suitcase up the wet steps to the lobby and checked in. Moments later, I threw open the door to my room and involuntarily muttered one little word that said it all. Nope. What I saw was a tiny, dark, one-room flophouse flat. Old brown linoleum led to dingy carpeting beneath sad, cheap furnishings. There was a hollow wooden door to the coffin-sized bathroom, a slanted table and chairs, and a worn olive green knit blanket draped over a slightly sagging bed which faced the ugly kitchenette on the opposite wall. The burners were rusty. The small refrigerator was dented. The room had one last chance at redemption. Was there a view? I slumped skeptically over to the window and threw open the curtains. The window faced a brick wall. I can't do it, I thought. Not now, when I'm feeling so over it, going loopy from the repetition and the travel and the physical exertion. I can't come back here every night to the despair suite at the Skid Row Manor, located at the corner of Hopeless and Loser. Nope. Still in my coat, with my suitcase standing in the open door, I used the room phone to call our company manager. Mark, are there still rooms available at the Marriott? I hung up the phone, tugged my bags back downstairs, checked out, and got into another cab. Okay, I thought as I rode back, the day now nearly gone. You're tired, you're wet, this isn't the highlight of the tour for you. This is one of those times when it's a job. Look, it's Portland, and we're only here for 2 weeks, so here's what you're gonna do. Indulge. For the next 2 weeks, there are no judgments. Eat what you want, sleep all you want, and do whatever is soothing. You don't want to see the sights? Don't see them. You want room service? Order it. That's what per diem is for. You're 2 cities away from home. Just do your job, collect the paycheck, and get through this slump. The Marriott's front desk staff was warm and helpful. It was almost as if they could sense my burnout. They gave me a room with a balcony and a view of the water. I don't know what body of water it is because I never bothered to learn anything about Portland except which floor the pool was on and how to get to the theater. I checked in and I came back down to the lobby where I ran into a group of friends from the show, all cheery and laughing. I love show folk. There's always a hug and a laugh to be had. It was a relief to be back among them, no longer a renegade. Sometimes there's something to be said for going with the crowd. They insisted I join them for dinner, and Fred and Michael invited me for a pre-dinner drink. Gentlemen, I announced, lifting a much-needed margarita, I hereby dub Portland City of Indulgence. Hear, hear, they agreed. Hey, these guys will go along with anything. And then I regaled them with my tale of the day's ordeal, which called for another round. True to my temporary philosophy, I spent a lot of time in my room over the next 2 weeks, really pulled a Howard Hughes and hid from the world most of the time. From my window, I could see ducks scurrying along the grass by the water. I watched boats sailing by, watched cars cross the bridge. Occasionally I saw the drawbridge lift to allow a tall boat to pass through, and that was excitement. I watched rain and sunsets, and sometimes just sat and watched nothing. My very own 3-star asylum. I slept a lot. I felt no need to explore. I ordered room service or I ate at the hotel restaurant. I swam in the hotel pool. In the evening, I strolled to the theater just a few blocks away, did my show, and then went quietly back to my room. It was nice, really. Whenever I started to worry about this reclusive, inactive pattern, I reminded myself that it was just for this 2-week period. No judgments. This plan worked like gangbusters, and I started to enjoy my shameless laziness. Laziness. I was still singing and dancing, climbing into and out of clothes all night as I performed my 12 roles. And when I thought about it, I decided that sometimes doing the show is enough. Now, staying at the same hotel with us was some sort of ladies' group. They were having a convention for their organization, which had a name like Clovers and Rainbows or Daisies and Unicorns or something like that. And they all wore cutesy sweaters, you know, the kind with zigzags or pom-poms or stitched on patterns of balloons or panda bears or kittens with big eyes. Their colorful name tags identified most of them as Trixie, Sandy, Barbie, Janie, Patsy, or Mitzi, and the rest as Carol. And these butterflies and sprinkles people were everywhere. Whenever I'd get on an elevator, there was a group of them standing there giggling. Oh, these girls were big gigglers. Nothing could have possibly been that funny. These folks had a favorite line they liked to say, "Must have caught the local." This is how it works. Whenever the elevator would make more than one stop, one of that happiness and sunshiners would chirp, "Oops, must have caught the local," and the elevator would erupt into a roar of giggles. They couldn't get enough of this clever quip. "Oops, must have caught the local" was the surefire laugh getter of the week, and each time it got just as big a response as if no one had ever made this clever observation before. "Oops, must have caught the local" killed every time, and the reciter of the line was so admired by her colleagues for her outrageous wit that the giggles were inevitably followed by, "Oh, she's a crazy one. Gotta watch out for her. Did you start drinking early, Patsy? We got our own stand-up comedian here." And then a round of sighs. Apparently, being a Sparkles and Horsies person, hell, I can't remember the damn name, filled one with an unjustifiable sense of fun. And there I was, friends. Mr. I'm from New York and I'm not amused. The jaded professional stage actor dressed entirely in black with a scarf around my neck to protect the instrument, glowering silently at the silly commoners. In my mind, I had a top hat, spats, a silver-tipped walking stick, a fur-lined overcoat, and a stuck-up English accent. "Ladies," I imagined myself saying, "I am in comedy. And please trust me, none of you is the least bit funny." No, if you know me, you know that as a rule, I'm not fond of chronic gigglers to begin with. But I'm even less enchanted when it's 7:15 p.m. and I'm trying to reach the theater in time for the half-hour call, and I can't even get to the lobby because every elevator that comes along is crammed to capacity with gals in sweaters, taking the local, as I stand there smoldering, waiting for the next one, and the next one, and the next, listening to the fading sounds of distant giggles as each elevator continues to the floors below without me. Over and over again, the same tease, the promising ding, the door sliding open, wall-to-wall sweaters. And then from somewhere within, "Oops, must have caught the local," and the explosion of cackles as the doors slid closed again. I don't know what that organization does exactly, other than wear sweaters and ride elevators, but they sure had a lot of members. Or maybe the sweaters just took up a lot of room. Either way, it was hard to get to work. Link, shh. And then, halfway through the Portland run, about the time that the Angels and Froggies people mercifully checked out, something unexpected happened that made me glad for my week of restful seclusion. Lewis, our star, called out sick one Friday night and ended up being out for the entire 5-show weekend. After months on the road, this man, who has the constitution of a train, just shut down for a few days. It was amazing that it hadn't happened sooner. So I did 5 performances as Max in 3 days back to back. Having been on several times before, I felt relatively comfortable in the part, but the 5-show Max weekend is a marathon, requiring every ounce of available energy. There's no drinking and no talking, and you go right to bed after the show. Suddenly, having moved closer to the theater and recharged my batteries by laying low seemed like brilliant foresight on my part, and I must confess I'm beginning to love being called upon to play Max. I love how the company trusts me and that the show goes on even when we're missing our formidable lead. I love being the hero, and man, is the role fun. Completely exhausting, but fun. But more importantly, all this provided a huge change in my routine, jostling me out of my ennui, sort of the way a trip to Mars strapped to a rocket might. It sounds strange, but my energetically demanding weekend as Max proved refreshing. At least it was different. Here's the reality. Being on the road isn't always easy and it isn't always fun. Sometimes you lose perspective. Sometimes you feel lost, like you're floating through space without an anchor, hurtling through the world without brakes. And sometimes you just have to recharge. But even with the ups and downs, this is a great job. 8 times a week, we get to entertain thousands of people. It's a job I've dreamed of, one which I am fortunate to have, and it also bears mentioning, lest we forget, that it beats the hell out of waiting tables. I certainly did enough of that to really appreciate where I am today. So, Having successfully managed my bad mood, and having successfully conquered that dreaded beast known as the 5-show max, I was feeling rather restored as we left Portland. San Francisco would be a nice long stop, 8 weeks. So we'd get to settle in, put away our trunks, and get to know the city. It would be nice to have the same theater, same dresser, and same home for a while. On the morning we left, I took a long last look through the balcony window that had kept me calm and entertained for 2 weeks. The view that had been my therapy. Ducks were swimming, people were strolling, boats were sailing, and a serene smirk crossed my face as I remembered that I'd moved to company housing and the bus to the airport would be pulling right up to my hotel. Things were definitely looking up. Kostrov. Yes, Link. Link is fascinated. This is the view from my Portland hotel window. That's all I saw, for the most part. That and the theater. Okay, friends. We are off to San Francisco. I'll see you there. Right, Link? Yeah, come on up. Come up. Do you want to say goodbye? Okay, here it comes. Link and I will see you in San Francisco. Be well, friends. Bye.